All right. Hey, it's Casey with Free Speech Northwest, and today Ray McMillin's on. We're going to talk a little bit about Dave Chappelle and how he's hurting the radical left. He's causing them pain. What do you think about
that? What do I think about that?
Yeah.
That's I mean, your viewers probably don't know who I am. You got to keep it in mind.
Right.
So I worked in comedy for a while. I'm a professional writer for like 20 years, but I did stand-up, or have been doing stand-up for about 4 to 5, worked professionally on the road, and when I first got into it, you know, comedians didn't really police other comedians outside of behavior. So if we found out there was a creep on the scene, or someone was, you know, stealing from headliners or whatever, we'd out that shit. But when it comes down to a bad joke or stuff you're not supposed to joke about, it would be that you just don't laugh at these people. Or they go to an open mic, they tell some racist shit, they have a bad joke, and it doesn't work, and they go, oh shit, what can I do different? Maybe someone would come up and say, well, your joke was stupid, or it was racist, or here's why it didn't work. Or people would just ignore these people. We'd call them shitlords, you know, this is just like the internet. It's like an internet troll. You just ignore them. Somewhere in the last couple of years, it turned from audiences wanting a laugh to audiences wanting this. You know, you'll get a better booking if you get applause. And then a couple years after that, this is maybe when I noticed it in the last year, we had all these specials come out that was basically trying to shut down comedy. There's that Nanette lady that had a special where she was saying, well, self-deprecating humor is bad because you hate yourself. That's the formula. You know, maybe comedy's not for you if you can't be self-deprecating. You know,
well, isn't like emotional things part of like
let me get into that.
Sure.
So the reason the applause factor came in was comedy became more of a forum for people to express their political and personal and moral and ethical beliefs. And then the extent to which the audience agreed with that would dictate how well your comedy went. And I'm not trying to pick on like female comics. These are just the worst 2 specials I've seen in a long time. But the Amy Schumer special, the most recent one, like she used to be undeniably funny. Her first special is still one of my favorites. But the one on Netflix, the leather special or whatever, it was mostly, am I right, girls? Am I right, ladies? Am I right, audience? There was not a lot of laughter. And when she tried to do self-deprecating humor, it killed. It worked. When she made fun of herself, she got real laughter. So that's why I brought up the Nanette thing is the comedy itself changed from an art form where people that hate themselves and have nothing else to offer the world, usually not very good looking. That's why, you know, they say, oh, comedy's run by men. Yeah, because if you're attractive and you're a woman, you'll become an actor. You know, you'll go out and you'll start your own sitcom. But for dudes, we're stuck on the road. You know, a lot of us are mediocre as fuck. So the self-deprecating shit kind of pulls people out of obscurity. And the thing with Dave Chappelle is he did both. He found a way to get his audience to applause with him and laugh, but they were doing so at things that you weren't supposed to agree with when it comes down to the agree crowd. So he didn't toe the leftist line. He made fun of groups you're not supposed to make fun of. So if you look at his special as, is this agreeable? Is this right? Is this what we should believe? That's where you get the 33% from Rotten Tomatoes. If you look at the special like, is it fucking funny? That's where you get the 99% of the audience score. The reason the left is having such a meltdown right now is they don't know they're a minority. The 2% of people that are screaming and yelling about Dave Chappelle, including Vice, who has an article like, you can go ahead and skip this special. No, I'm not gonna. When some chick in a pink hat tells me not to do something outside of, you know, physically things, if she says don't watch this, don't listen to this, don't play this video game, I'm quick to download about it. I'm quick to look up and Google it and all that good shit about it. So I went and go ahead.
I've said that before, is like when the radical left says what not to do, sometimes that's an indicating factor that this might be a good thing.
Well, here's the
hypothetically.
thing. The critics will come back and say, oh, we're telling people not to be racist, or we're telling men not to sexually assault. That's what you're saying. But in action, you know, you're not going after the Klan. You're not going after people that are assaulting people based on their beliefs and other cultures, yada yada. Insert internet argument here. What they're doing is they're going after safe targets. The left eats its own, and I'm saying that as someone that is liberal but is not leftist. I know it's hard to talk about, but I believe in personal freedom. Part of that is no authoritarianism, and if Dave Chappelle wants to, actually Dave Chappelle had a whole part of that special was about poor white people on heroin and all that. I have like 10 friends that have overdosed in trailer parks. I thought that shit was funny. He's joking about sexual assault, this and that. I know people that have been assaulted. I worked in that industry in psychology, you know. Yeah. I did work with fifth level offenders. So I've worked with the victims of and the perpetrators of the worst things in the world. Dave Chappelle's special, making light of that, makes it easier for me to deal with the shit that I've seen. And the leftists don't get that if you say, hey, funny black guy who's a Muslim and who is very, very liberal, you're not allowed to say that. Well, now Dave Chappelle no longer has a voice, but guess who's not going to listen to that demand is redneck, racist, Southern comedian. Now, that person might only have 12 people show up to his show in Alabama, but if that's the only person that's allowed to have free speech, he's going to get fucking huge. Like you said, that when they say don't watch this, I found out about every one of my favorite bands, from NWA to the Dead Kennedys, because someone protested it. Someone said, you're not allowed to listen to this shit. And we all know that the NWAs and the Dead Kennedys of the world are pretty far left, but the authoritarian thing has shifted. Back in the day, it was the right wing being authoritarian. Now it's the left wing being authoritarian.
Is there anything that's off limits? Is any of it off? Should anything be off limits?
Well, my honest answer to that question is the only thing that should be off limits, or instead of off limits, it should not be encouraged, is when people are unfunny. We have this age of lying to people where we've changed all the standards so losers can feel like winners. It pushes winners out the window. And, I look at my body and I know I'm never going to win Miss America. End of story, right? But we do live in a day and age where if I went on Facebook and said I wanted to win Miss America, people would vouch for me because somehow the underdog is supposedly the only morally upstanding person. Now, if I wanted to say, hey, I want to be writer of the year or shitty Skype interview of the year, okay, that's something I dabble in. But if you're a better person at those things, then I have to relinquish that to you. The left hates that. They hate merit. The idea that anyone that has power got that power because of bad things, privilege, having a dick, whatever. There's something super ironic about watching CNN and have a senator tell me that I'm oppressing her. And I'm sitting here in fucking Salem, Oregon in a $600 a month studio apartment. How am I oppressing you?
So are you saying that the people who like are Vox writers and things like that, those shouldn't be the judges of comedy? It should probably be the audience specifically.
They're not judging the comedy. What they're doing is they're making the same. I keep telling these people, they're like, I hate Trump, and I go, cool. Here's a list of fucking 12 things that he's done to make himself look like an idiot that were bad for the country. Oh, let's not talk about that. Let's mention his old tweets. Let's talk about how he was sexist. It's like saying, I want to win a basketball game. Okay, here's a basketball. No, I'd rather use a football and roller skates and be drunk. And then they wonder why they lost. They're not playing by the fucking rules. And they're going out saying, I'm judging comedy. You're not judging comedy. Any review by Vice or Vox of Dave Chappelle is a judge of Dave Chappelle's character. It has nothing to do with comedy. And as far as things being off limits, the only thing that should be off limits is people that aren't fucking funny. And if you don't think I'm funny or Dave Chappelle's funny, then leave. But if we have a room full of people that think we're funny, then we are objectively funny. You have awful ideas don't have that kind of following. So the Ku Klux Klan will march in Alabama. There'll be 13 old people with hoods, okay? They suck, but there's 13 of them or whatever. Yeah. Dave Chappelle can sell out any stadium right now. If he showed up to Moda Center and threw a tweet out, he would have people there by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Aside from that, though, let's say that, we know that Dave is funny. Oh, yeah, okay. We know Dave is funny.
Extreme,
Could have been doing anything. Who knows what?
They have a real-life hash now at this place called Canna Medicine. Not in bubble oil or drip tip or vape, whatever. Just fucking straight up hash.
Good.
So, but the 2 cents on the Dave Chappelle thing is, do you think that I should judge, feminist poetry? After like 5 seconds of this interview, do any of your viewers say, you know what, that guy would be really good at working with children and consoling the victims of crime? No, you know that I'm abrasive and I'm not like that. So why would I go out to do that thing? And so many people that aren't funny, 90% of the current Salem comedy scene are just people that are lonely. It's an AA meeting where you're allowed to drink. That's all that fucking is. And then you see people, there's lots of Portland comics that get voted bestest person in the world, funniest person in Portland. They go to LA, they disappear because they're not fucking funny. And if they are funny, they don't know how to play the game. You have to also kiss ass, suck dick, be attractive, show up an hour early and stay an hour late. They don't want to do any of that shit. So when someone like Dave Chappelle goes out and makes all these jokes and you have people saying, oh, I would do it this way, I would do it that way. Dave Chappelle had to go to another continent for 8 fucking years or whatever just to clear his head from all the shit that he dealt with putting out Comedy Central's Dave Chappelle show. I think he's allowed, of all people, forget the token shit, forget the identity shit. I don't care if he was a straight white guy. Ooh. Anyone that has been kicked out of the entertainment scene, lived in fucking Africa for 8 years or whatever, and moved back, he can tell me whatever the fuck he wants because he's literally traveled, he's a professional comedian, and every joke in that special was funny. The one about me, the one about trans people, the one about you. They were all fucking funny.
Now, aside from comedy itself, let me see. Comedians, when they're doing comedy and everything, like let's say you do some comedy about transgender people or gay people or white people or whatever, just fill in the blank. That doesn't really necessarily, I mean, these are jokes, they're not your actual reflection on how you feel about, right? Okay. Jokes aren't literal.
I'll give you an example of where comedy speaks truth. If I get out there and I say that, and I'm giving an answer to your question, do not quote me out of context, but if I say that transgender people sleep with cats, or transgender people are maybe something a little more realistic, but it's not funny, it's just hateful. Like transgender women are just men in wigs. Okay, that is an opinion that's bigoted in my opinion, but it doesn't generate a laugh. Now, if I go out and say that, let me pull out a really hacky joke. For instance, the first thing that would come to my head is I just lost a bunch of weight over the last 2 years, so when I wear my clothes, I'm trans fat. But
okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm wearing like a double XL. It's like I'm skinny, but I'm trans fat. Now, someone will go, okay, let's unpack that, okay? Because people that are of that gender... No, I'm not attacking trans people. It's a fucking play on words. As far as what Dave Chappelle did, so there's the answer. If the joke is hacky and it's just kind of like, okay, that was lame, that's different than someone saying, trans people molest children. And it would even be more egregious or false to make a premise the audience doesn't agree with. Dave Chappelle, on the other hand, made a premise that the LGBT community is eating itself. Okay, it is. I don't know who gets out there. I DJ in gay bars. I hang out at gay clubs. I'm not transphobic, but I'm a fucking sexist, and I don't like going to bars where I have to buy women's shit. So I go to gay bars, get drinks bought for me. Double fucking score. Never once been hit on, too. They know. They know I'm straight because I clash, but they know. Now, point is, I'm in those bars, and lesbians hate gay guys. Gay guys hate trans people. Trans people want to be left the fuck alone, but they have a list of demands that the rest of them have to follow to talk to them. All of those things are true, and all of those things you have to be in the gay community or around the gay community to understand. No one in the Klan meeting would get what Dave Chappelle meant by alphabet people. No one would get the nuance that he was talking about in his joke about how they're all in a car and they can't decide where to go, yada, yada. You have to know people to know those jokes. So if I make a joke, like let's just bring up race. If I make a stereotype joke, I say, oh, black people are criminals. Okay, it's not funny and it's not factual and it's a stereotype. But if I say, hey, we're going to go watch the Black Comedy Show tonight, the ticket says 9 p.m., so I'll show up at 11:30, we'll get in early. Okay, That's a joke that works because it's fucking true. Did Rodney King get beat up because black people's comedy shows started an hour and a half late? Nope. Nope. So the left can't distinguish these two things. And they're actually convinced that one microaggression leads to a larger aggression. That's why they use words like microaggression and internalized misogyny. They're playing this weird game of life, like a Skyrim type game, where every few personal grievances, they get a new XP bonus. They're like, oh, your offended armor now covers speciesism, or it covers ageism. Hey, gingers, wake up. You've been beat up for too long. So every year we have these new groups. All of them are rich. Most of them are white chicks. That's the thing. You don't see transgender people bitching about Dave Chappelle's special.
No.
You see angry white women bitching about his special. Do you know why? Because he said the following phrase: there's nothing good about 36-year-old pussy. That is the truest thing to ever be spoken on any visual medium ever, with the context of today. Because look what we're doing. We're telling all these, yeah, go out and don't have kids, like live till you're 40, club all the time, sleep with whoever you want. Then it's like, why can't women find guys to get married with? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm trying to hit the keyboard. So it's like this harsh truths are hard for society to deal with, and comedy can either be mean or it can be, cuddly, but it's gonna speak the truth. And when they say things like punching down, you're fucking implying that trans people are below you if you use language like punching down.
Yeah.
The group that has the most power is the group you're not allowed to joke about. And I would argue that RuPaul, I know that's not a trans person, but close enough for this discussion.
Sure.
That someone that comes across as a woman, has a penis, but is famous, has way more power than Jeff at the gas station who spent his last $15 on Netflix so he can go home and have a laugh after working 12 hours for people that fucking hate him and will never know who he is outside of that little community, right? So he gets a laugh at the expense of the rich elites. Dave Chappelle's making fun of Caitlyn Jenner. Dave Chappelle's not making fun of the 13-year-old kid that doesn't know what body they were born in.
Yeah.
Totally different subjects. And even if you are to make fun of trans children, is the joke funny? End of fucking story.
Okay. Well, a different topic. Have you specifically? All right. Have you ever been accused of hypothetically joke stealing or anything like that? Because the reason I'm asking, and I'm not saying Owen Benjamin's not saying that, but he does this thing where he said who told it better. So I think that's implying that he thought Dave Chappelle had heard his joke.
Yeah, there's a thing called groupthink, where everyone's, it's like whenever something happens, everyone makes the same dumb joke on Facebook. They're like, when Rip Torn or Rip Taylor died, they're like, Rip, and they sit back and they're like, I'm a comedic genius. Well, that does happen at upper level comedy because your brain might work at a different level, but you're still going to come to some of the same conclusions. I watched the two jokes. They're similar, but they're kind of hacky, like not necessarily super hacky, but they're common enough to where everyone knew where they were going. I actually had a joke that I eliminated because it sounded too much like a joke that I saw Dave Chappelle do later, and he's a professional comedian, and I'm a local hack. Mm-hmm. And our jokes are similar, but I stopped telling it because I don't want to be accused of taking his joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he has some joke about, there's a rap song when I was DJing strip clubs where it just says, I beat the pussy up over and over again. And I was thinking of back in the day, they had that Tupac song where he says, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Like we went from comparing women's vaginas to fruits to things we want to fight after we're drunk at night, leaving the bar. And I've never torn off my tap out t-shirt and threatened to clit for a fucking fight. Well, Dave Chappelle took the same angle, but he made it about two pussies in the ring fighting each other. And I was like, that's way funnier. He's way better at it. I'm going to stop telling that joke. I think it's up to the comedian to be unique. So, Amy Schumer had 9 allegations against her about jokes. And it's the same thing with the Me Too. Okay, 1 or 2 allegations, there might be some sort of personal vendetta. You got 500 people saying you did it. Sorry, Cosby. At least one of those is real, right? So, yeah, it's up to the comedian, but it's also it's going to happen. You're going to make the same joke on a first date that I made to a girl on a first date, about the waiter or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
So there's similar groupthink,
All right.
I have been told not to tell jokes. Anytime someone tells me a joke is off limits, I tell it.
Yeah.
So someone's like, well, you're a white male and you're straight, so you can't make a rape joke. And I was like, well, here's the thing, is that 9 out of 10 rape jokes are made by someone the audience knows, and most go unreported. And so the joke I made was about that. That worked, but I couldn't just go up there and be like, oh, I want to rape that bitch. It's not funny. The left thinks that comments like that directly lead to sexual assault. I think they're just hacky and the sign of a shitty person. But there's a big gray area between, class A felon and open mic comic that just doesn't know how to be funny and is going for shock value. So that's another thing. If you tell someone something is off limits, these like edgy, I'm going to be the most offensive comic in the world, they're going to go directly for that thing.
Yeah.
So just ignore them. That's the silence and indifference will kill shitty bigot comics, and will also kill the outrage culture.
Can it be funny though to like when you're told not to tell a joke? Are there circumstances where you can try to get as extreme as possible and have it work out?
Yeah, there are. I'll give a little anecdote here, but I can't. I got to be out of here in 5 minutes. But
Right.
So I talk about this from a stage, but I was at a casino and the guy gave me a rule. He's like, we're a free speech event. So that aside from your show, usually when someone says they're a free speech event, they're not into free speech. There's like a list of things you can't say. And he's like, don't talk about sex, don't talk about cigarettes, don't talk about alcohol, don't talk about Native Americans, don't bring up sex, don't cuss on stage. And then he's like, you have to do an hour up there. Here's 2 drink tickets. So I got a pint of Jägermeister.
Yeah.
I got ready for about 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like I was ready to get booted off. And I was just riffing. I was just telling a story. Yeah, I'm from here. And at the time, I was dating a Native American model. And she was like way out of my league. So we ended up hooking up. And after sex, I didn't know, like, I'm thinking like, well, I want to usually just play video games after I rub one out. Like, how do I actually cuddle with a woman? And so I said, do you want the rest of the Jack Daniels or the Snuggie? And she's like, dude, you just offered a native girl whiskey and blankets after the first time you fucked her. I'm going to leave. Do you have a cigarette? And I'm like, well, there might be an American Spirit, but you're gambling on it. So I told that, and I literally went through the bases of everything he told me not to say. And he thought it was funny. And then I made fun of the band Journey and got kicked out of the casino. And that's a different story for a different show.
Okay.
I will say one thing though about the comedy universe is that it's like music, and it's irony that I'm going to bring up this band, but the guys in Insane Clown Posse were on an interview, and they made a good point how they got voted the worst band of the world, and he actually made 2 points. He's like, first of all, how much would it suck to get voted like the 12th worst band? Like if you're going to be that bad, you might as well be all the way bad, right? But then he brought up the point that they're selling out arenas. And he's like, look, I don't like Merle Haggard. But if Merle Haggard has an arena full of Merle Haggard fans, I can't say Merle Haggard sucks. I can say, I think he sucks. And here's all the reasons I think he sucks. But according to his fans, he's doing a good job. Dave Chappelle is filling arenas. The guy did one tweet at the Pioneer Square in downtown Portland, bought a little shitty speaker from the Apple store, and like shut down traffic, bigger than the protests. So we're creating this culture where you say you can't say anything, and then this guy releases this special called Sticks and Stones where he goes through every single group and makes fun of them. And I do find it ironic that no one is bringing up the fact that he made fun of, aging women. And it's like, the truer the thing he said, the less likely you are to hear someone complain about it. His trans joke was so far out there that people felt safe critiquing it, and it's a hot button issue. Just like we did, remember in the 90s when we gave a fuck about gay men? Where did they go? They got tossed under the bus. Like, from Milo to Rick Rubin or whatever the fuck it's on your conservative end of things.
Dave Rubin.
They got told they were fake gay. So give it 10 years. And Caitlyn Jenner will be called a fucking bigot because, she was once seen with Donald Trump.
Yes.
Sooner or later, we're going to have this group of like 5 people. They're all going to be like in wheelchairs with 2 functioning limbs, several mental disorders, an amalgamation of every race and gender out there. We're going to be like, that's our army? And the rest of the world is going to band together and just kick their ass. I mean, they're in wheelchairs, but we'll do it nicely. But the point is, the group of people that are allowed to object to being oppressed is getting smaller and smaller every day. If you don't believe me, ask a black conservative, ask a transgender conservative, ask, pretty much anyone that falls out of line with the left, because that's their puppets. The left is losing chess pieces. Imagine playing chess with only the queen.